Here's an introductory screen chomp about grouping verbs. It's very important that you understand grouping verbs because without grouping, you don't know how to conjugate. They have rules based on which group they belong to, so we're going to explore that today. It's a fairly straightforward process. You want to start out by asking yourself the following questions. The first question you want to ask yourself is the verb kuru or suru? If the verb is kuru or suru, it belongs to group 3. It's called a group 3 verb. Group 3 verbs are the irregular verbs. The reason why they are irregular is they don't actually have the same conjugation rules that all the other two groups hold, so they belong in their own group. And there are only 2 verbs that belong to this group, which is kind of neat. So the verbs themselves, if you're not sure, are to come and to do. Those are the meanings. Alright. After that question, the second question you ask yourself is, does the verb end in an iru or eru sound? If the answer is yes, then these are likely group 2 verbs. Group 2 verbs always end in an iru or eru sound, but there are just a few exceptions that they sound like they would be group 2 because they end in iru or eru, but they actually belong to group 1. I'll go over those in a screen that's coming up. But it's important also to note that it's an iru or eru sound and not necessarily the hiragana iru or eru. You don't necessarily have to have it end with an iru or an eru hiragana. It just has to have that sound in it. So for example, you might have a verb that ends in keru. That would be an eru sound. Right? You might have a verb that ends in biru. Right? That's an iru sound. So as long as that vowel e or a precedes the ru, it would belong likely to group 2. Alright, so with those 2 questions out of the way, the third question isn't a question. It's all the remaining verbs belong to group 1. So you could think of it as the ones that are left over. Group 1 are all the other ones. Right? So there are 3 groups of verbs. To recap, we have group 3. These are the irregulars. Kuru and suru. Sometimes I use the mnemonic irregulars. You can say the irregularity. Group 3, irregularity. Group 2 are the iru. Excuse the sloppiness there. The iru or eru ending verbs. So group 2 always end in ru. And then group 1 are all the remaining ones. Three, 2, 1. And that's it in a nutshell. That's how you group verbs.